And the only reason I did them that big was just because I didn't want to be so constricted to the smaller size. But his idea was it's just these little studies that would, these little doodles, you'd do one a day. And of course, I had to take it to a different level, and just because I started getting the idea early on, like, wow, these are just, I used it as a project. Like, as an artist, you always have all these ideas in your head, and you only have so many hours in a day to get them done. And so I looked at that as a platform to be like, hey, I'm going to use this as like a mental trash can, because sometimes you can think you have this great idea and you put it down on paper and you're like halfway through it, you're like, that was really a bad idea. You know what I mean? You just don't, that's why artists always say they have all this half unfinished work laying around, and so that was kind of my opportunity to work through that. And there were some days that it was absolutely horrible, at least in my mind. I was like, oh, yeah, that didn't work
So
at
you
all.
did one of these every day?
Every day.
Holy.
Every day, yeah. And I originally said, I'll spend about a half an hour on each one of them. Realistically, it was like 2 hours on each one of them. Some of them were longer. Like, there's some that took the whole day. Like that one over there, that mahi with the squares, all those little squares, that one took me like 6 hours. That blew my whole day, basically. But then there was like travel days and like, road trips up to New Jersey and stuff like that, that takes you 2 days to get there. It's like, when am I going to, I'm driving here. I'm driving my family up there. When am I going to draw? And then there's tournament days, and when are you going to draw then? And so it's like you had to kind of figure out when I was going to do this, and so I would come up with these little projects in between and try to figure out how to keep it interesting for me. And but it was cool, people really gravitated towards it, and it allowed me to kind of spread my wings with some of the audience and get them involved, because they were booking days. And so like they were doing birthdays and anniversaries, and and I had half the year booked, so really the project paid for itself, which was great, right? And that's really kind of what kept me going on it. But yeah, at the December 31st, it was a piece of ahi tuna with a fork in it. I'm done. Stick a fork in me. So yeah, the 365 fish project. But there's some pieces from it around the gallery. So we created a lot of fun things, I think, during that. So it was a good time. Yeah, it was a good time.
No, I remember looking forward to it.
Yeah,
it was neat.
I pondered doing it again sometimes, but then we're just so busy.
You should do it on leap year.
What's that?
Leap year.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, on a leap year. Yeah, 366 fish. Yeah.
Challenge yourself a little bit.
Yeah. Challenge myself. I'll have to remember that. All right, listen. Carlene, how you doing?
I'm doing.
Yeah?
Yes, sir.
All right, so we're rolling, right, Yanni? Yeah. Okay. So, Carlene joins us today behind the bar. Thank you very much for coming and joining us today.
Of course.
We are the Connected by Water podcast, powered by Joey Accardi, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, and fueled by our very good friends at Papa's PLR Rum, who remind us never to be a spectator. Today, I am joined by my very good friend Eric Leech and his father, Mike Leech. This is the extra special Father's Day edition of the Connected by Water podcast, and I really think that we've never done a Father's Day edition before. The podcast has been going for about 3 years or so now, and I've always said I wanted to do this, but I wanted it to be the right father and son combo, and I pretty much feel that I got it here. So both of you guys are legends. Anyway. Yeah, you guys are legends in your own right. So I really appreciate you giving me your time and being here today. We're going to talk about a whole bunch of things today, and it's just, I'm just happy to have you guys here. And we were talking before the episode started about how and we mentioned it when you were on the last episode that you were on, and I just I'm glad you're here, because I could just thank you personally. I don't think that you really truly understand the impact that you've had on my career.
Really?
Yeah, and I can tell you, a lot of people, when you're young and you're full of spunk and you're just, I don't want to even say fearless, because there's plenty of fear there. When you're young and you're just trying, but you go through it anyway. I approached you and Jim Brown at the IGFA when it was the library in the library down the street
Yeah.
from here, when it was just a small place and it was primarily one big archive. And as a 17-year-old kid holding up my work, bringing a portfolio full of stuff and asking if there's anything I can do or be involved with at the IGFA. And you didn't tell me no. You know, you guys had me spread my work out on a table. You gave me the time of day. You made me feel real good. You guys gave me all the confidence I needed to keep it going. And sometimes that's all a kid needs.
Good. I'm
so
glad to hear
I
it.
just wanted to personally shake your hand and say thank you very much for doing that for me. Because, you know, people always like to say, oh, yeah, you know, I remember Dennis and, you know, oh, I started him off, or it really was not anyone but you.
Yeah.
So, but
Okay,
thank you
well,
for
good.
thank
I'll
you
take
for,
half
thank you
credit
that.
for
yeah,
everything.
you got it. So all commissions go to Mike Leech. I want to. We talked about our do-gooder
Yep.
of the week before we get started. Let's bring that up here from Corey, and it's a guy that. I mean, he doesn't win the do-gooder just for this one moment, but he's always sending videos to Corey Redwine of him doing trash and debris pickups, and you know he runs Tide and Tide Charters out of Cocoa Beach, Florida, and his name is Ian Bertot. Bertot, I hope I'm saying that right. And one thing that put him over the edge for being the do-gooder of the week was he found a 50-gallon fuel bladder in 200 foot of water, and he retrieved it, took it out of the water, brought it back to land safely, and safely disposed of it.
Nice.
And that's a pretty good do-gooder moment there. So
Very good.
Ian
Yes.
gets the whole bucket full of Starbright goodies, and enjoy, Ian. They're all
Good
yours.
for
You
him.
earned it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you're very conservation-minded.
Yes.
I would say so.
Absolutely.
Take me through that a little bit. From the standpoint of you're a longtime Floridian.
Yes.
You've seen our resources go from all different levels here.
Yes.
And take me through some of your thoughts as to where we were and where we're at now.
Well, when I started in the early days with IGFA, it was back in the 1980s, and Elwood Harry was my boss. He was the president and chairman.
Mm-hmm.
And his mission, or his view of mission for IGFA, was not conservation at all. So I kind of had to ease him into it. He wasn't opposed to conservation, but he didn't think it was the mission of IGFA.
Mm-hmm.
So we gradually got more involved in printing articles in the newsletter and that type of thing, and kind of eased him into having IGFA involved in conservation, and it grew and grew and grew from there.
Yeah.
So it goes way back to the 1980s. And he was tagging and releasing bluefin tuna back in those days, too.
Right.
So back in the 70s or 60s, maybe.
Give me some of your thoughts on Florida in general. You see the way the state that things are in now.
Yes.
Yeah. And, you know, can you recall, you know, like, for example, I'll bring up one example, like the St. Lucie Inlet. All the grass that used to be there.
Mm-hmm.
And Rufus was in here telling us stories about, back in the heyday, you could just go right out back and all day long just catch as many fish as you
Right.
could see.
And same way on the West Coast, the Caloosahatchee.
Mm-hmm.
Half the water out of Lake Okeechobee when they're dumping it goes on the West Coast. The other half comes out St. Lucie. And it kills the grass beds and consequently everything that lives in it, which the bigger fish, the snook and tarpon and everything else feed on. So when you kill that, you're basically eliminating a fishery, you know, it gets terrible. And, you know, you almost have to get out in salt water in the inlet before you start catching fish, like Rufus used to say. Just go up the river and catch all the way up, probably trout and everything else up there.
Yeah, and you know, with both of us, Eric being Florida boys, and we've seen our fair share of the resources, you know, dwindle down, and you know, it has the ability to bounce back. I think, you know, we had Manny Puig on last week, and he brought up a good point about, you know, like, listen, you know, sometimes it's just leaving it alone for a little bit, not necessarily forever, the ocean is a pretty resilient resource. It can bounce back. And when I hear things like that, that's really what gives me the biggest hope for it all, is that, you know what, he was right. You know, it does bounce back, you know, but I think it's the efforts, I think, that really, you know, I guess the point I'm trying to make is that some people might think that it's a futile mission, that we're doomed and it's like there's nothing that we can do, but I refuse to believe that. I refuse to give in.
Yeah, if make the right decisions, it can come back, you know.
Yeah.
Yep.
But so far, it's going the other way. Too much dredging. I mean, look at just the Port Everglades area. What used to be the intercoastal south of Port Everglades used to be lined with mangroves and all that. Now it's big ship dockage and seawalls and all that, you know.
Yeah, all concrete.
Yep.
Yep, definitely.
Used to be a lot of tarpon in there.
Oh, I remember the days of the hot water canal tarpon and and snook down there.
And the inlet itself used to be full of tarpon because there was grass flats just inside, you know, just near the Coast Guard station now. A lot of grass flats in there, all gone.
Yeah, all gone. And those are the things. Those are the toughest parts, I think, that to get back.
Yeah.
You know, because I mean, are we worried that if we keep doing this and those outfalls keep happening, like maybe there's going to be one day that the grass doesn't come back?
Yep.
I don't know. We'll see. I mean, we will see. But
think how many people are at the sandbars every weekend. If you could get the 2 sandbars or 3 sandbars in Port Everglades, Fort Lauderdale, start growing grass where the little bait fish and stuff could go.
Yep.
You know, but everybody's there. You know, there's 50 anchors every day. You know.
Yeah. That's tough. I mean, in one hand, you're like, well, how do you tell people no, they can't go out and enjoy their boats and do all this stuff? But on the other hand, it's just like, you know, there's not
one of the sandbars used to be an island. I remember an island there with casuarina pines and a osprey nest in one of the trees up there, all washed away.
Yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame. I really listen. I hope you know, there's a lot of work to be done. You know, and I hope that as Florida grows, because it's growing at a very fast pace, and that we at least have it, you know, of sound mind to try to keep our resources intact as much as we can.
Absolutely.
So this is our Father's Day episode, right? You're both fathers. I'm a father, right? You know, and you know, it's really nice to have you guys in here, and I wanted to. Hopefully you guys could share some stories about some of you guys fishing together, really what that means. You know, when Eric was on a few weeks ago, you know, I asked him, you know, how much an influence you were and all that, but I really kind of want to hear from you too. You know, what was it like? You know, I asked him what was it like having a dad like you, but really though, I mean, I feel you've been rewarded with a great son.
I have.
You know, what was that like? Because as a father, I can look down at my son, and I understand the value of when he gives back some of what you love. You know, that really is great.
Yeah. Well, fortunately, Eric was hooked on fishing right from the beginning. I mean, that's what he wanted to do.
Sure.
And in the early days, I mean, he was ready to come out. My wife and I would go out and catch bait for a tournament. We'd leave at 4 o'clock in the morning, and he'd come out. His job was to count how many pilchards or goggle eyes we had in the well. And sometimes he'd fall.
You were the counter?
He'd fall asleep doing it sometimes. But, I mean, that's how.
Now, did you do that just to keep him occupied, maybe?
Yeah, to give him a job. He wanted to come out with us. I mean, he didn't care it was 4 o'clock in the morning. He's ready to go.
Perfect.
And we had some great times. I remember the day that we were fishing a Pompano rodeo. I think he was 13 at the time. And he was fully capable of fishing himself. You know, I didn't have to let the line out for him or anything else. And we were fishing over the Tenneco Reef, and as he was letting out the first pilchard on one of our drifts, it took off, and he ended up with a 77-pound wahoo.
Really?
Which at the time was a Pompano Rodeo record and stayed a record in the Pompano Rodeo for many years. Eventually it dropped to second and then third. I don't know if it's kicked out of third place yet, but
Well, I mean, it
some
probably
great
remained
memories.
a junior record at least, right? How old
Yeah.
were you when that happened?
13.
13.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was just my mom, my dad, and myself on the boat.
Yeah.
That's it.
Family
just,
fishing
just
day.
the three of us.
Wow, nice.
Yeah. We had another day, didn't turn out quite so good, that we were going to outsmart everybody in a tournament where it was one of the few tournaments where you didn't have a bimini start. You could just put your lines in at 8 o'clock, wherever you wanted to be. So we were going to be smart, run way south.
Mm-hmm.
So at 8 o'clock in the morning, we were going to be down near Fowey or wherever we were going to be without wasting time running down there starting at 8 o'clock. So it was so rough that morning that we had to run down the intercoastal. So we run down and we go out Baker's Hall over, and at 8 o'clock we were ready to go. We put our lines out in the water, and it was a miserable day. Again, it was just Eric and I and my wife, Gussie. And we fished all day. I figured normally the current would take us north, and at the end of the day we'd be someplace up near Port Everglades, but the wind was out of the north, so we stayed right there. So at 4 o'clock, lines out, we had one kingfish to weigh in. It had been windy and rainy and miserable. Then we had to pound our way all the way up to Port Everglades to be at weigh-in by 5 o'clock. And we get there about 5 of 5, pull into Lauderdale Marina, which was the weigh station. We look around, there's nobody there. I said, geez, they all weighed their fish in already and left?
Really?
So we start asking around and said, where is everybody? They said, what are you talking about? We said, the tournament. This was supposed to be the weigh station. Oh, that was canceled at 7 o'clock this morning.
You guys never heard anything? You just guys stayed all day out there and got beat up?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah. But my wife was a good
for
sport.
one kingfish.
Yeah.
One kingfish. That,
Well, you won the tournament, I think.
yeah. We were the only one entered. So.
Yeah. So when Eric was on last time, sorry, I'm like pounding your dad with all these questions here. I just want to cross-reference some of the things that we went over, right, a little bit. So he's talking about his world record dogtooth tuna,
Yeah.
right?
Great catch.
So one of the things that we discussed on the dogtooth was that it was taking a little while to call the record. Now, was there any hesitation on your end, or any nepotism happening, or maybe you just wanted to make them sweat it out on purpose?
No, I had, we back in those days, we were getting maybe an average of 1,000 applications a year. And so his came in, I'm assuming, I knew darn well it was caught in accordance with the rules.
Right.
But it goes through several people. It comes in and they make a jacket for it, and they check over the photos and make sure everything that we need is there.
Yeah.
Then it goes to a species identification person, and they look it all over. And they pass it down to Jim Brown or whoever is next in line. It goes through 4 or 5 people.
Oh, okay.
And finally it comes to me. And, I mean, we had boxes.
So it's got to go through them before it gets to you.
Yeah. I'm the last one it comes to.
So by the time you've seen it, it's been verified a few times already.
Yeah, I'm the final thing,
Yeah.
and I give it a careful once-over.
And this is as the president of the IGFA,
Yeah, I'm the
right?
president of
right.
IGFA. So in the meantime, Eric calls me up one day and says, hey, what am I, chopped liver? What's my record doing? And I said, well, actually, I don't know. I hadn't even thought about it. I knew it would eventually get to me. So I start going down the line, and I find it in a box down here, and I say, hey, this is my son. Let's move it along. So we finally got it approved, and I believe it's still a record.
Still stands.
Were there any sweating moments? Maybe this might have been a little borderline.
Yeah,
not pretty
at all.
Solid, right?
No, not at all.
Yeah. Over the years, my dad and my mom have had numerous world records, too.
Yeah?
Yeah.
They've just been broken.
They've all been broken?
They've all been broken. Yeah, my wife had...
Can you remember all of them?
Well, I don't have very many, so I can remember all mine. And my wife had 17 world records.
What?
Most of which were bonnethead sharks caught in the early days before the bonnethead shark records got really big.
Sure.
I mean, now they're 15, 20-pound bonnetheads
Mm-hmm.
that you just don't see down here in South Florida. But we were having fun in shallow water. catching them on 4-pound, 6-pound, 8-pound, 10, and setting the records. Now, to certify a record, it's got to be weighed on land. But the bonnethead sharks are in 2 feet of water. We were sight casting to them and having a good time. So once we got a bonnethead in, I'd get out of the boat, stand on the bottom and hold the thing up, and we'd check had a certified scale with us, and then we'd let it go. So every one of my wife's 17 world records were all released alive.
Oh, wow, that's great.
Including one we caught under, in fact, Eric was there that day too. We found a bunch of Cuban rafts floating offshore.
I'm going to have to cut you off for one second. We have a special call coming in for you.
Okay.
Connected by Water, can I help you?
Yes, is this the famous artist and conservationist Dennis Friel?
This might be. I use that word famous loosely, though.
Yeah.
Well, I do. I mean, there's famous Amos, there's, famous Nathan's Hot Dogs.
God, I love those
but,
cookies.
You're there. Hey, you're on Atlantic Avenue in Pompano. You got to be doing something right.
Yeah, well, we're trying. We're trying, Mike.
So I understand you're having a Father's Day show tonight with two of my favorite people on it.
Yeah, we are. Mr. Mike Myatt, please allow me to introduce you to Mike and Eric Leech.
Hey, Mike.
I refer to Mike as the boss, and I've known Eric, most of your life.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to call up and thank Mike for a couple different things. I'll start with the important thing with the Father's Day thing, is that he shared experiences with Eric when Eric was younger, like very few people that I had in my life at that point in time. I mean, him and his lovely wife, Gussie, who has to be part of every conversation when you talk about Mike.
Well, we were just talking about Gussie's 17 world records that she's held.
Gussie is one of those people that literally, she smells like cotton candy when she walks by her. She is so sweet. She really is. I don't know that I've met a sweeter woman in my life with sending cards. And Mike used to keep an appointment book, calendar book in his pocket, and it always had a picture of Gussie on it, which my wife thought was endearing, and she would berate me all the time for not doing it myself. But I said, there can only be one Mike Leech. Give me a break. I had the good fortune of working with Mike at IGFA. He was the president of IGFA when he hired me, and I thought I was going to be there for a couple of years. Sort of a bridge in between a non-compete I had in the publishing world. And it became quite apparent after watching the way that he acted and interacted that not only 2 years doesn't get it done, but it becomes a lifestyle. It becomes part of you. And happy to report, I made it 19 years.
That's awesome.
Wow.
It's funny, Mike, I never really put two and two together that, Mike Leech started your career and my career in this business.
Yeah. Well, Mike Myatt was a big part of IGFA during some very important years, and heck of a guy, and definitely left a mark on IGFA. I didn't realize it was 19 years because he was still there when I left.
I made
some good times.
I made it because of fortitude, and obviously it's no great secret why I did leave. Yeah. But the good news is I live about, I'd say 3/4 to a mile away from Pace Island, Florida. Okay, where I know that Gussie's dad, Mr. Pace, developed that area.
That's right.
And I also remember cast netting some little alligators that may or may not have been inhabiting our wetlands that you and said son Eric captured and brought back.
Yes, yeah. Guilty as charged.
Yeah.
Yeah, we also put about 40 turtles in the lake there.
Oh yeah.
And not to mention the ducks.
and the ducks. And the ducks, I don't know that there's as many there as there used to be. I start a rumor every time I go down there that there's still an alligator or two out back because, after I left, they weren't allowed by the state to keep any gators in the enclosure anymore.
Yeah.
Somebody fooled the state into thinking that I had 2,000 hours of working with gators. So we were able to renew the permit. I don't know. Maybe I started that rumor. Somebody did. Maybe it was me. But you know what? And Eric, you've continued, that journey with Mason.
Yep.
And also your daughter. But, I can't tell you, I used to go down to watch Journeys just to get, some headspace back. And it would be Eric and Mason, and they watch it. Eric, how many times do you think you've seen Journeys?
Quite a few.
Yeah, quite a few.
Yeah.
That's,
Can't put a
if
number
I
on
would
that.
have had a popcorn machine in there, you never would have left.
Yeah.
Because then you would have had substance. So,
While I got you both in the room basically here at the same time, I want to ask you, as two former presidents of the IGFA.
no, never a president.
Oh,
Never a president.
all right. Well, I
No.
thought you were president. I'm sorry, Mike. Yeah, I do want to kind of ask you guys, like, the responsibility of holding your positions, then, shall we say, at the IGFA, because I think, overall, I always view it as, hefty responsibility, that you guys have to really keep it on the straight and narrow. I mean, there's got to be a big sense of pride working for the IGFA, no?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's
In our
It's
years, there
absolute-
were anyway.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Absolutely, I would say the pinnacle of my professional career. I mean, I've had some really cool and lucky breaks from a kid from, depressed area of Maine. But I think Mike will agree with me. Hard work and doing stuff over and over makes you better and luckier. If you're not afraid to get in there and do some stuff. And I still go to IGFA. I don't really hang out like in the office area, but I do. Recently, I took Gail and Denise out to lunch and had a great lunch. I think my favorite part of IGFA is the library.
Yes. Yeah.
That's always been my favorite part, for sure.
The history of it and the record keeping and trying to keep stuff hard. Let's not make, world records easy so everybody in the world can get a participation trophy, but keeping them hard and keeping people honest. And, Mike started the Offshore World Championship. I was fortunate enough to be able to take the reins of that. And we had the largest international tournament and most successful tournament in the world. And where we got to have people come to us, first in Hawaii and then in Cabo. And the auctions that we used to have, Mike, how many people? 600 people?
Our
650
record
people.
was 875, but the one ballroom would only hold, I think, 712. And people were mad at us because they couldn't get tickets most years.
Right. And you know what? At the breakers, those big Bodo statues going underneath and the bowels of the breakers. That was some of the creepiest stuff I've ever done for money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, those breaker days. I mean, that's when Mike really got me involved in there. It allowed me to display my work. I mean, a 17, 18-year-old kid having my work up in those auctions, and and that's when Tread Barter came along, and he was the first one to buy an original painting from me.
Yeah.
And that was
A lot of artists got their first recognition
yeah.
in some of those.
Really was
auctions.
the springboard. It was before the internet and before social media. You really had to really claw your way through and make something for yourself. It wasn't like, I'm just going to start posting stuff up on this platform. And, you really had to work the channels and get involved. And, this is back in the day. This is when you had to do things old school and the hard way.
Yep.
that's
And
it.
international
I literally
sport
had to
fishing,
walk up to the IGFA and knock on their front door and say, hey, who do I talk to? I need to show you my work, and it was, that's really how things were done back then.
Well, you know what? The most successful artist whether you're a fine artist, you're a sculptor, no matter what your medium is, you'll find, and you look around and you still see it today, the people that lasted show up. They connect with people. They, press the flesh. They get out there. And, I kid a good friend of all of ours, Guy Harvey, all the time. I said, dude, you know how much easier it would have been if you would have been just like Tommy Bahama? You wouldn't have to be at all these shows. You wouldn't have to travel every freaking weekend. But, that's part of it, Dennis, and you get it. I mean, you're, and I'll just brag on Dennis for a minute. Not only is he a very successful artist, but he's to the point where he works every single year with the U.S. Mint and works on coins. And if anyone hasn't seen his work, Dennis, tell them where they can see it. I mean, the recent landicraft you did was just absolutely amazing.
Oh, we just released a coin for Louisiana, and we designed the Higgins boat, the one that would storm the beaches of Normandy, because it was for the American Innovations series for the Knights. That's our latest coin that we have out.
Well, I got to tell you, it's my pleasure and privilege to be a small part of what you do with Connected by Water. And Mike, when you see Gussie, please, are you guys drinking any Papas Pilar, by the way?
Oh yeah,
We are.
we certainly are.
Yes, we are.
Pouring one right now.
Now that you mention
Carlene's
it.
pouring one right now. She literally just walked over and grabbed my empty cup.
Hey, Carlene. How you doing, kiddo?
Good. How are you, sir?
Good. How's the babies?
Growing, walking, driving.
Right.
Driving.
Right. driving.
He's only 8.
Driving, all that good stuff.
Yeah, picking up the pizza.
I just poured myself a little dram and I'd like to have a toast to 3 great fathers that are in the room right now. To a wonderful mother, Carlene.
Right.
Carlene just took Eric's cup.
Oh,
Raise a fist. Raise a
There
fist.
you
Right,
go.
there we go.
Why are they taking your cup, Eric? Are you
There you go.
driving?
He's got it now. He's
Yeah.
got it
There
now.
we go.
Cheers.
Yeah,
Okay.
Eric is
Well, cheers to you
drinking
guys.
dark.
Happy
I'm
Father's
drinking
Day.
light.
Yeah. Right.
So,
Eric. Yeah,
Very
we're,
good.
We're dark and light here at the table. So, well, Mike, listen, we appreciate everything you do for us. Really, I mean, it truly is special what we've been able to achieve here with you, and it's you guys keep the lights on here for us and allow us to do this week after week. So, we definitely feel the love.
It's my pleasure, but I will share one more quick thing.
Yeah.
The look of pride that Mike had when we were sitting, Mike, I think we were sitting either in the lunchroom or we were heading back toward your office, and you told me that Eric had got a job on the French Look.
Yeah.
And I don't know that I've ever seen that much pride in Eric. How old were you back then?
18.
Yeah.
Right out of high school.
How about your first job being on the French Look?
Yep.
I mean, that's incredible. And I want to tell you, your dad was grinning like the butcher's dog. He was so happy about that. And, all the accolades you've got, Eric, with your fishing career are well-deserved and well-earned. So here's to you guys. You guys have a great night. Go tell some fishing stories. Lie a little bit if you need to, and embellish as much as you can.
We're trying.
And
Yep.
you guys have a great Father's Day weekend.
Nice
You
to
too,
hear
Mike. You
from
too,
you,
Mike.
Mike. Yeah, nice to hear
Okay.
from you.
All right. Thank you.
guys.
All right. Bye. Good old Mike.
Yeah. Talking about the French Look,
Yeah.
we had always told Eric, particularly his mom, he said, when you get out in the world here, you're going to have to know, you want to be a captain or a mate, you're going to have to know how to cook, you're going to have to know how to do your laundry, you're going to have to do all this stuff. His first big job, other than day mating on the local charter boats, was on the French Look. I mean, he flew to Hawaii to get on the boat. We did not see him for 1 year.
13 months.
Everybody else came back for Thanksgiving and from college, and Christmas they were there, and Easter they were there. Eric was gone, and first Thanksgiving that came up, we were really kind of depressed. So we went up to Disneyland. You cannot be depressed in Disney.
Right.
And that was our escape.
That was your cure?
Yeah.
Yeah.
To cure the
So,
blues.
Carlene,
From
I
him
think
being
this
gone.
is the perfect segue into our strange questions, because our first questions has to deal with exactly that topic. Right?
From Charlie Levine.
Charlie Levine. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Asks
Hey,
this
Charlie.
first question.
He wants to know how protective, Mike, you were when Eric started to travel.
When he started to what?
When he
To
started
travel?
to travel.
Oh, travel. I was not protected at all. I was not protective at all. I mean, he was gone.
So you were ready.
That's all
confident.
he wanted to do was fish. And we had one day, the French Lick happened to be in Port Everglades.
Mhm.
And we were invited down to have dinner on board. And they showed us around. I think Mikey Latham was there at the time.
James, yep.
And that was Eric's dream job, to someday work on something like the French Look. And dreams come true.
Yeah.
So he was on there, and we were delighted for him that he could get there.
18 years old, though.
18 years old.
That's
He
young.
was gone right out of high school.
Yeah.
And all
sitting
we
in the middle
told
of
him
the
about
ocean.
having to cook and he had a French chef. They had a hostess on board to take care of everything. All he had to do was fish and
Oh,
clean
that's
the
horrible.
boat. You know.
That sounds horrible,
Yeah.
Eric.
It was tough.
But he is a good cook now, and he knows how to do laundry and everything else. But
Well, I think that answers another one of our questions from Andy Moyes
Yeah.
about what was the best part of your career and what did you learn from James Roberts, Eric?
What did I learn? James was a very good hands-on as far as a teaching captain.
hmm
He taught us, Jody and I, but me, how to varnish. We were varnishing stuff, touch-up painting the engines.
hmm
He was the one teaching me how to do oil changes. When we were changing oil and stuff like that. So he was a very hands-on. Come down here, let me show you. He was a great teacher and mentor. And
Yeah.
it was neat.
That's really so important, not just in fishing, but in any career, is to have that mentor, that guidance. I remember when I first, after we did all the stuff I had a talk with my dad, and he's like, listen, you've experienced some early success here with the IGFA stuff and the stuff you're doing with the Billfish Foundation, and it's in the Wild Fish Collection, and that's really good and all. He goes, but you're young. I'd like you to go to college, and still do that. You got all this other time to work all this stuff out. And he was right, and I went to college. But when I got out, I never stopped painting fish.
Yep.
Right? Always have, like my entire life, like nonstop. But I took this job in the music business, right? Because on a whim, someone gave me a job lead, like, hey, this is a really cool job opening here for a entry-level graphic designer in the music business, and you should check it out, And I was like, wow, we're designing CD covers and music magazines. This is a really cool job. Yeah, I'll try this for a little bit. And it, like Myatt, I ended up staying there for 17 years, right? But the cool thing is I had a mentor there, a creative director, that really taught me how to be a professional. And that was really, really, really important. I could have stayed doing what I was doing, and just doing my own thing. But I really look back on it now, and I think not doing that really, really helped me a lot. It helped me become a professional. It helped me to understand how to do the little things right.
Mm-hmm.
And to have someone show you how to do those
absolutely
organizational
Sure.
things, and the not the pretty stuff, the behind the scenes stuff, and laying that foundation for you. So now when I did come out and eventually quit my day job, I went right back into doing what I did. I opened this place up and all that stuff like that. And we're right back at it, But now I have all this other stuff under my belt. That is just so valuable,
Yep.
I think, to making you a professional. I had an opportunity to go work in the Cayman Islands to be a graphic designer, and I had been working at this place for about a year and a half. And I said, my dad, you know what I mean? So this is a Father's Day episode, so I'm going to relate it like this, right? So I said to my dad, well, I have this opportunity. I can move to the Cayman Islands. That's where Guy Harvey's from, or he lives, or whatever, and all this stuff like that. This is what I want to do. And he said, listen, pump the brakes a little bit, okay? Who's the boss down there? I said, well, I'll be the boss. They want to make me the creative director. Because you're not a boss. Because you've only been doing this for a year and a half. Because you're going to take this job, and it might be fun, and you might learn cool things and everything like that. He's like, but you're not going to have anybody to guide you. You're not going to have anyone to teach you anything. And what's it going to amount to? You're going to live in the islands. That's fun and everything, but, And in hindsight, I stayed at this job, and I really learned a lot. I don't know. I want to know when I went off on a tangent there, but you sparked kind of a memory about how my dad guided me through that. Mm-hmm. And it was really, really important advice that he gave me, because now I see it later in life. Now I see what he was talking about.
Having mentors, I think, is very important. And Eric has gone out of his way to fish with some of the top people in the world of fishing and learned a lot. And now he's one of the experts,
Yeah.
Not many people can beat him as far as knowledgeable things and tournaments and anything you want to know. From light tackle, freshwater to saltwater, marlin and swordfish. He's done it all.
Yeah. And I can attest to that. I mean, your reputation is impeccable. I mean, and I'm not trying to say that to float your boat or make your head big or anything like that, but when you say the name Eric Leech, especially at this point, everyone knows, all right, that's one of those real guys, real legit kind of thing. So,
but I do add, a lot of people are like, obviously my dad had the connections. Mm-hmm. Everybody in the world that fishes knows my dad.
Sure.
And obviously that's how I got, my first few jobs or whatever.
Well, on that note,
I did keep them. Mm-hmm. I did keep them.
Yeah, yeah, that's important.
I like to say that I did keep.
Yeah, no, that's important.
But obviously, having a dad my dad was great.
Well, so is it true that your dad had to give out an IGFA record to your principal so you'd graduate from high school?
That was not true. But we might have taken a few of my teachers fishing to help me.
So you can guess who asked that question.
Oh yeah, that was Fly.
Yep. Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah, and Fly also asks, with you being so conservation-minded, how did Eric come to be the all-out killer that he is? That's another Fly question.
Now, Eric is very conservation-minded as well. I don't think he kills any fish that somebody's not going to eat or it's required in a tournament for points.
Yeah. We got some questions from Bouncer there, don't we, Carlene?
Mike, he wants to know if kingfish will bite your feet on the deck.
One of my stories with my son, we were fishing.
Just the two of us.
Yeah, just the two of us. That one, it was the Miami Billfish Tournament. First day, first morning, we hooked up with a decent-sized kingfish that was certainly weighable. And as we're getting it into the fish box, it hit my ankle just above my shoe and cut me pretty good.
Really?
And I started bleeding.
Didn't give you like a grab and a wiggle, did it?
No. It was shaking its head and it just hit my ankle.
Yeah.
That's all. It didn't bite like that. It just hit me on the side. So I didn't think that much of it. It didn't hurt. Found out later on it cut a nerve. That's why it didn't hurt.
Oh, wow.
But,
really?
So anyway, we bandaged it up, get out the first aid kit, bandaged it up, and we continued to fish. And after the next drift, I looked down and my shoe was absolutely full of blood. So I said, well, obviously my bandaging didn't work too well. I'm going to have to go in and see a doctor. So we called into the committee boat and we said, we're coming in. If you could get someone to drive me to an emergency room, it'd be good. And sure enough, the girl waiting there, and she drives me to the emergency room.
Julie Wheeler, Eddie Wheeler's wife.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Yeah.
She used to sell temperature maps.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Well, anyway, so she drops me off at the emergency room down there on Miami Beach, and I leave a trail of blood walking up to the girl that wanted to register me in or whatever. And in the meantime, Eric, not going to lose fishing for a day, he's scrounging around the dock and finds Pierre Pierce, another artist.
Yeah, oh, I remember Pierre. Yeah, back in the day. The sculptor.
Pierre Pierce said, "Yeah, I'll go out with you." So they fished the rest of the day.
Oh, Pierre, that's a blast from the past name right there.
Yeah. So I was waiting to get stitched up, and I think it was like 25 stitches or something like that before they patched.
They did 2 rows inside the meat and then outside.
So I got hit in the face with a putter when I was 12. They had 24 stitches, 12 on the inside, 12 on the outside because it was so deep. Yeah. Wow. So, I mean, but the real question on everyone's mind is, how much did the kingfish weigh?
I think it was 30
It was
pounds.
Leading the first day. I remember that.
Yeah? Because you want to make sure you get your money's
I don't
worth.
know. Do you remember how much it was?
I want to say it was exactly 30 or 30.
30? Yeah?
I want to say.
A decent-sized king. All right. Well, I mean, it wasn't worth anything at the end of the. Did you get a daily out of it? Or?
I don't think so.
No.
It was the bill for
just a bloody sock.
Bouncer was there in the tournament, so I'm leave it to Bouncer to remember something like that.
Yeah, well, Bouncer also wants to know which leech caught the biggest swordfish.
Oh, that would be my son.
Yeah, but we used an electric.
Yeah?
We got a 501 on an electric.
On an electric?
Yeah. My biggest fighting and catching 5 hours and 15 minutes on 50-pound test by IGFA rules was 365.
Yeah. All reeled in.
All reeled in.
Nighttime.
5 hours at night.
Wow. Nice.
Yep.
Nice. Very cool. All right. What other questions do we have lined up here, Carlene?
Well, there's 2 of them looking back at the Miami billfish that you guys had. Took second place in the first Miami Beach billfish release tournament with a couple white marlin. This is from Bouncer.
Right.
You guys had a white marlin. I know we won with a couple sailfish and a blue marlin.
Yeah, I think Bouncer's asking. I think he's probably trying to get you to clarify what happened. I don't know if he remembers or not.
Unofficial Grand Slam.
Yeah, that was. It was an interesting. It was the last day of the tournament, and we were somewhere in the middle. I think we had a couple of sailfish, something like that. And I've forgotten if somebody stole our bait or most of our baits died or whatever. So we had, I think, 13 baits when we left that morning. And so I had a couple of packages of frozen ballyhoo. And when we ran out of live bait, we were going to just troll for dolphin and maybe try for the biggest dolphin or whatever. So we set up off Crandon Park. And we're drifting with a kite, and the 2 guys with me said, "Oh, there's a shark! There's a shark coming up." I didn't see it, and I said, "Are you sure it's a shark?" He said, "Yeah, it's a shark." I said, "Well, why don't you take it then? Because sharks don't count. So let them have some fun." So my friend Gordon Cooper picks up the rod, and he's trying to hook the so-called shark, and the white marlin sticks its head out of the water. I said, "Oh." Now I just blew a white marlin because Gordon Cooper has got the rod in his hand.
Right.
Then I realized Gordon had picked up the wrong rod.
Really?
There was nothing on his bait at all. So I picked up the other rod and I hooked the white marlin. Great start to the day. We brought it in, held it halfway out of water, took a picture, let it go.
This is when they were different points.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not
right.
like it is
White
today.
marlin
Right.
didn't count as much as a blue marlin, and sailfish were less than
50 points, 100 points, 200 points kind of thing.
Something like that. Yeah. So we went through the rest of the day, and I think we had some kingfish cutoffs that killed our baits. And anyway, we're down to like 3 baits at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and we're just drifting directly off the cut at Miami, and there's a color change where the tide was going out and there was a green water and blue water. We're just drifting there waiting for the end of the tournament. Up comes a billfish and grabs a flatline, not even a kite bait. We only had 3 bait. They were our last 3 semi-live baits. And it screams around, takes my bait, screams around the back of the boat and up to the bow. Well, the third guy in the boat was my dear lifelong friend. His name was Tom Buffum. So he's running the boat. but he wouldn't know a blue marlin from a white marlin. So can't count on him. So we're chasing this fish down, and I fish very light drag.
Mm-hmm.
So the blue marlin had not jumped, and we weren't sure what the heck it was. You know, we didn't think it was a sailfish because it screamed up. Anyway, we're following it, and I'm saying a little faster, a little faster. No, slow down, slow down. So we get up just a little bit behind the fish, and I'm looking down on this fish. He's at about 10 feet below the surface. And I'm saying, that's a blue marlin. Small, maybe 100 pounds, but it definitely was not a white marlin.
Lit up.
And, I mean, a white marlin would have these neon blue pectoral fins and all that, and much skinnier. This was a nice...
A round back.
So I tell my friend Gordon, I said, we've got to get a picture of this. Nobody's going to believe this. And so my first mistake was we were fighting it off the bow. I should have had it back in the stern.
Right.
But make a long story short, we finally get up, and Gordon grabs the leader, and the fish came up and made one jump like that and broke off.
But he grabbed the leader.
But he had the leader, so it was an official release.
Right.
And I'm saying, I cannot call that. If they give us a lie detector test, my friend Tom has no clue the difference between one and the other. Gordon saw it for like 3 seconds as it came up and shook its head. I don't know if he could pass a lie detector test.
You didn't see it?
I saw it. I knew it was.
You saw it.
I was 99% sure it was a blue marlin.
Sure.
But I told Tom, I said, call it in as a white marlin. Nobody's going to believe we had a grand slam. Yeah, we had caught a sailfish that day, too. So
as far as the tournament's concerned, they thought it was
two whites. Two whites and a sail.
But it was really
and
a grand slam.
We won the small boat division.
That was before me.
Yeah.
You know why I love this story? Because as former president of the IGFA, as someone who is like, nope, it's got to be right.
Yeah. It does
you even checked yourself that day.
Yeah. Well, Eric
because you
would
said
do the same
99%, not 100.
Yeah, exactly right.
And that 1% was enough for you to just be Mr. Honest.
Yeah. I knew.
I love that.
I knew the two guys
I think
on
that
the boat.
says everything about you, Mike. No, I'm not kidding.
No.
Really, that's an admirable thing. I mean, how many guys would do that? The clout. I got a grand slam in that Miami Billfish tournament. No, I got that. They bragged till the day is long about that.
I remember when we called it in. Frank Johnson was also of Moldcraft Lures. Was also fishing the tournament, and he didn't know who was calling in a second white marlin. They said, "Oh, BS," that. So when we got to the dock, he came up to me. He said, I didn't know that was you. I apologize. I know if you said it was a marlin, it was a marlin. Because it was the first year it was all release.
I mean, I guess it's, I would have to say, honestly, I mean, you're looking at this thing, and you know the difference between the way a back on a blue looks and the way a back on a white looks.
Yeah.
I mean, the white's like a sailfish almost. I mean,
exactly.
But no mistake in it, really.
Yeah.
That's great. That's great. That's a great story.
Yeah.
Well, thanks to Bouncer. I mean, Bouncer might have to be the winner of the stories after hearing that one. What do you got teed up for us here, Carlene?
George Poveromo.
Oh, Georgie.
So first off, he wants to let you know how proud you are, how proud he is of you being a devoted Mako owner back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
And we'd like to know why the boat's name is meant to be.
That's another interesting story.
Oh, there's a story to that,
It was the first IGFA dinner auction. Forgotten what year it was, 19... whatever. It was a long time ago. And Mako had agreed to donate a boat. And I wanted to buy that boat, personally.
What was it?
It was a 21-foot Mako. And... the first auction was not at the Breakers Hotel. It was the Flagler Museum.
Oh, wow.
And we had, the auctioneer was one of our trustees, Steve Sloan.
Where'd you guys do it? In the main room, right when you walked in?
Well, we were hoping, when we first announced the thing, we were hoping to get 300 people.
Right.
So we had 600 people showed up.
Oh, at the Flagler Museum?
At the Flagler Museum. 300 of them were in another room.
I would have to think. I mean, because I've been there.
Yeah.
I know the layout. That's why I was asking, where'd you put that?
Yeah. Anyway, to get to the meant to be part of it,
Sure.
we had finally the boat came up for auction. I had somebody in the audience, one of my friends, bidding on it for me, and I said, go up to $19,000.
Mm-hmm.
So it
So
comes
it's a
up,
live auction.
and the boat goes for like 22,000 or something. I mean, you could buy a nice boat back then. That's how long ago it was.
Right. Yep. Yeah.
And so I went for
22,000. That's the gas
boat,
bill in the Bahamas now.
Boat, motor, and trailer. I think it went for $22,000. Okay. Well, we tried anyway. Then the guy comes up to me, and he said, "I didn't think I thought I was just putting my hand up. I didn't really think I was going to get it. I can't buy it." I said, okay, we'll re-auction it, So I tell Steve Sloan, the auctioneer, auction it again. So it comes up again, and this time it goes for $21,000. I said, well, okay. My guy had bid up to $19,000, and so that kid comes up to me and says, my wife says I can't have the boat. So
Third time's a charm.
So it came up again. This time I bought it for $19,000. And the guy that had volunteered to help me that night put every chair up and take every chair down and table and then pack everything back into a truck and bring it back to Pompano. He was there, Tom Buffum, my friend. And he said it was meant to be. And I said, well, that's what we're going to call the first boat.
That's great.
There you go.
That's great. I like it.
Yeah.
It's funny. You mentioned bring it back to Pompano, right? And I want to bring it back to Pompano for a second here.
Mm-hmm.
One kind of, I don't even want to say question, but one topic that we always touch on here is the theory behind Pompano Beach is the cradle of civilization when it comes to fishing.
Mm-hmm.
We look at modern day fishing,
Right.
And we really try to beat this like a dead horse on this show because I see it all the time.
Yeah.
Like
Peter
if you
Wright,
look,
Barky Guernsey.
you go anywhere in the world where all the best and biggest fish are being caught, chances are you're going to find at least one dude from Pompano there,
Probably.
right? And it just seems like that it's just in the DNA of this town.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk about that a little bit? I mean, as former IGFA president, where IGFA's headquarters used to be in Pompano.
Yeah. Well, at the time, back in those days, we had a warehouse. That's where we brought everything back to a warehouse. Our headquarters was still in Fort Lauderdale, but we did move right up the street here and from where we are right now, and spent quite a few years there. But you're absolutely right about Pompano being the kind of the center of the universe. I mean, Peter B. Wright was from here, Barky Guernsey, Eric can name a bunch more that got their start here.
I mean, you got your Skip Smiths, your Carl Andersons, all these guys here.
Yeah. Go on and on and on. Yeah.
It's I don't know. It just baffles my mind. I mean, I just wanted you to put your seal of approval on that one for me because we talk about it all the time, and I don't want to make it sound like I'm always being a homer, by saying that. But I'm like, and now you got other guys coming up. You got Eric, you got Art Sapp. It's like they're all just bringing up the rear here.
There's so many fishermen here. It's good fishing.
Skip Dana. I mean, look at all these guys.
So you've got live baiting. It's competitive. So the guys that are competitive that are going to be better and the cream of the crop are learning from each other and trying to progress to beat the next guy. And you've got live baiting. You're close to the Bahamas, so you're trolling for dolphin, marlin. We've got probably one of the best sword fisheries in the entire world right in our backyard. So it's
100%. And then you can do all kinds of different fishing.
Yep. You're 2 hours from everything.
Bass, the snook, the tarpon,
fishing,
the billfish, to reef, all in the same day.
Yeah.
That's why when I did that bridge with the Atlantic Army, it's why I was like, oh, what are you going to put on the bridge? And I started really racking my brain. I'm like, man, we got everything here. What are you talking about? I'm going to put it all on there. I got enough space.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm going to put it all in there.
I got a whole bridge.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, how could I not? I don't know. That's kind of what I saw when I did that. I was like, man, I got to do it all there. But then I look at all the little groms out here. You know what I mean? And all the kids that look at Lorelai. You know what I mean? She's 18. She's just graduating high school now. And she's on her way to UF, and Jonah, like those two right there, just exemplify just the legacy continuing of Pompano.
Yeah.
Really. I mean,
my son and his friend just last week, I don't know, Thursday or Friday or something. They're going out on their little 17-foot boat, and it was a big thing. They caught it like a 25-pound wahoo trolling the other day, right out front. 7 a.m. He caught that, sending me pictures of his wahoo right out front. So
that's it, man. I remember the days, man. I'm fishing with Matt White and Frank Gibbs. We're running out on Frank's 17 whaler, all the way out. You know what I mean? Just catching dolphin, and we were cutting class and all that. And sorry, Dad. But it would happen from time to time. But that's really how you got to do it, man. Yeah. Sometimes it doesn't matter if you got this big sporty or you're on this big fancy program. It's just about going in and catching fish.
Yep.
Yeah. I want to ask something here. To both you guys, right? And Carlene, I'm going to take this one from Andy because it's a simple question, right? But I really want you to think about it, and I want to ask it in two ways, right? So I'm going to add on to it. So Andy Moyes asks another question. He wants to know what your best day fishing was, right? But I'd really like to know individually what your best days fishing were, and together what your best day fishing together was, if you guys could think about that. Maybe you're not prepared to answer that yet or not, or you have to think about it. I don't know.
I what I would say to that question is there was so many great days, and it's not so much the great days are not what you caught, it's who you were with.
I agree.
During that time.
100%.
Yeah.
That matters more, I think.
Yeah. I can tell you what my biggest fish was, a most unusual fish, or that type of thing. But the best day, we've had so many of them. That's a wonderful part about fishing.
Yeah, it's a tough question to ask guys like you who fish so much. Yeah. I mean, how do you say what the best day is?
But it's not the day I caught the most fish or won a tournament. I give you a story. We used to run kids tournaments. We had IGFA ran 3 junior angler tournaments.
Sure.
And one of them was in Dania. And after the tournament, we'd have a nice sit-down dinner, barbecue,
right?
Ribs and chicken and that type of thing. And we'd have a raffle and give out the prizes to all the kids. And one of the dads came up to me, and he said, "I want to thank you for just the best day fishing I ever had." I said, "Well, I'm glad to hear that. What did you catch?" He said, "Nothing." I said, "Nothing." He said, "No, we didn't catch anything. We went out and we weren't doing any good offshore. So we came into the little creek here in Dania, and the kids got out and they splashed around, and Mom was here and Dad and the kids. And now we're in here. It was the best day we've ever had fishing."
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. I always think the best days are always with the kids.
Yeah.
I really do. I mean, I had a really great day fishing with my son. Mike Lamb had just got the Island Rover, the Merritt there, and we went fishing with him, and it was a kid's day. It was all the dads brought their sons on the boat, and it was really such a great day. And Roy was there, and Roy brought his grandson. Art was up on the bridge, and he took us all out, and it really was like we put the kites up and went for sails, and we didn't get a sail, and it was just wanted to do the real quick. And then Art's like, let's just get some triggers, or we'll drop on the reef or something like that. And then all the kids were pulling on fish. All the kids were pulling up these little triggers, and they had the best time. Yeah, and it was really just like a half day fishing, and on the way back, just having sitting in the salon and just having a one-on-one with Roy, and and it was just really just those are the days that I love.
Yep.
It's not the tournament days.
Right.
It's not the money days and all that. It's the days where you just the intrinsic value of what you're doing. You take that away with you, and like the one when we were talking before the show even started, how I took my daughter out with Bill Lepre.
Yep.
And she caught her first clown and 7 peacocks, and and she still just won't shut up about it, and she wants to go again. She wants to go again, and it was that. The funny story about that is it was the night after we all, as a family, my wife and the two kids, right, my daughter and my son, we went to the Panther game the night before, and obviously we're in playoffs now, and I don't know by the time this airs if we're done, or maybe by the time this airs we're Stanley Cup champions. I don't know because we got a week before this goes. But it was the night after Matthew Tkachuk scored that goal with 4 seconds left to put us into the Stanley Cup, and we were all there as a family. I could not get my son out of bed the next morning.
You couldn't speak the next day. Is that when I talked to you?
I lost my voice. The whole thing. I never yelled so loud in my life when Tkachuk got that goal, 4 seconds left. But my daughter hopped right out of bed. She's like, all right, I'm ready. I'm like, all right, well, we're not getting Sean out of bed. So it's just the two of us. And we met up with Bouncer. We fished with Bouncer and Bill Lepre. And then we ended up having a glorious day fishing. And it was kind of worth all the pain and suffering of dragging our asses out of bed.
Yeah,
but
we had a great day. Same thing for my son.
Yeah.
Usually for his birthday every year. Most day, let him skip school and we fish with people, Brian Sanders, Bill Lepre, LNH, whatever.
Yeah, Brian's another great one to go with, yeah.
And, we all, the first day we went with Bill Lepre.
Yeah.
None of us had caught a clown knife fish. We all caught clown knife fish. We caught 6 or 7 that day.
Bill's money, man.
Peacocks, sunshine bass, striped bass, crappie, everything. We had a
great day.
That was one of the great days. We've had a ton of great days.
Yeah.
But talking about the wahoo and the rodeo earlier, to this day, I still remember my dad, when the wahoo's up and down, obviously it's a big wahoo, short pumps when it's straight up and down. Don't pull it up real high.
Right. Go with the waves and all that.
Still, to this day, that sticks in my mind. Fish is straight up and down, nice short pumps.
Yep.
And, we've had, Christmas Eve,
Christmas
night, sword fishing.
I was going to bring that one up.
What is it about holidays?
Yeah.
Like great things always happen on the holidays, don't they?
Those are the easier to remember. Christmas, I've forgotten what year it was. We'd opened all our presents. It was a nice day. The weather was great. So, and it was, back in the early swordfish days. So we said, well, sitting around the afternoon, let's go sword fishing. Well, probably wasn't on the top of my wife's list to go sword fishing that night on Christmas night, but she wasn't going to be left behind. So the three of us get in the boat. We go out, and it was almost as soon as it got dark.
Yeah.
Eric hooks up with a swordfish and brings in a nice swordfish, 100 pounds. I've forgotten what it was.
125 pounds.
So we look at each other with, hey, we got a nice swordfish in the boat. It's Christmas. Let's go home. Mm-hmm. So in the meantime, the wind had come northwest.
Oh, wow.
So getting home wasn't all that comfortable, but
jacked up on you a little bit.
That was a Christmas night swordfish. Just the three of us.
It's really amazing that you guys have been able to, not only just, for you, Mike, to, have your legacy continue.
Yeah.
Through such a great vessel as the son that you have here.
Yep.
But, I remember, many a nights drifting out of Haulover, shrimp at night for tarpon. Or he always had flats boats going over to Flamingo and Chokoloskee and redfish and snook. And when I joined his fishing club, the Sport Fisherman of Broward, we'd always keep a boat in Key West in that winter. And I just turned 18 and joined the club. And we've got the boat in Key West. And they have an overall division. And so you have to have, you have to catch 4 or 5 species on each, fly, ultralight, plug, spin, light, general, and general. So we're there, and I'm bottom fishing, catching some nice muttons. My dad says, nope, kingfisher biting. Here, catch one on general, catch one on 20, catch one on plug, catch one on spin, catch one on fly. And he would make me do it and help me win the tournament just because he was meant to, nope, this is what you got. Okay, the jacks are here. We got to catch jacks. All right, you got to catch 4 permit today. You got to catch whatever.
The funny part was when the kingfish used to gather down there, they were very reliable in the winter. Every commercial boat for miles around would be out there. Mm-hmm. And they're going around in circles, with the commercial gear, almost like hand lining them in. And we're out there catching them on spin and all this other. And they're looking at us like we're crazy. We quick weigh it, and throw it overboard. And these guys are bailing them into the fish box, They must have thought we were nuts.
I mean, it's, I don't know. This is great.
Absolutely.
If people look for magic on Earth, I mean, this is it, right? I mean, really. I mean, you can't ask for much more.
Yeah. We've had good family days that I think we found the day that my wife got her triple tail world record.
Okay.
We were out flat calm day, and we started spotting the Cuban rafts.
Mm-hmm.
It was back in the day when President Carter had welcomed everybody. And
Is that when you found fly?
yeah. So we're getting, Eric is
awesome.
climbing in the Cuban rafts, and we're taking pictures. And so there was a nice triple tail under one of the rafts. My wife catches it on 4-pound test, and we're pretty sure it was a world record. So we put it in the live well, brought it back. I think we weighed it in Pompano on the dock, still alive, weighed it, took a picture, let it go, and it turned out it was a world record. And even so, we caught it maybe 10 miles offshore.
Wow.
She released it alive, which she was every one of her 17 records were released alive.
All right. So I have a question for you
All right.
that I try to ask every episode. Sometimes I forget. I asked you, and I try to ask this because I think it's a really, really important question. It speaks to the passion of what we do. Speaks to the passion of the sport, but more importantly, it just speaks to the passion of why we do it in the first place. Can you tell me what your one that got away is?
Oh, gosh. I've had a lot of big fish get away. I fished 46 days in Kona to try and catch a blue marlin over many years. I have never caught a blue marlin in Kona because every one I've hooked, I've lost. But another big one, and one of them I was fishing with Guy Harvey one day, and big marlin comes up, and behind my lure, he's got one side, I've got the other side, and it comes up and comes up and comes, and then just fades away. That was a big marlin. So the captain turns the boat around to go back over the same spot. That marlin is not going to come back, he's long gone. Darned if this marlin doesn't come up, and he's like swimming right behind the lure, like he can't catch it. I said, surely he can catch it. The captain pulled back the throttles, and the lure went down his throat.
Right.
So I had this guy on for about a half hour, and I'd forgotten. Somehow the hook just pulled. That was one of them. Another one was fishing in Madeira when the captain called the fish I had hooked 800 or 900 pounds. And I fought that one for about 45 minutes, and the hook just came out.
That's a big
So
fish.
those are two very big fish that I didn't catch.
Yeah. Yeah. Listen, it's crazy how they stick with you.
Yeah.
Because you didn't really hesitate when
No,
you want to tell me those.
yeah.
But that's outstanding. That's outstanding.
Yep.
I think we've reached the end of our questions on there.
Okay.
And I want to just leave you guys with this thought. Okay. It's just to reel it back in a little bit and say it's our Father's Day episode. And this has been really special to me to have both of you guys on here. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. You're talking about a guy who just lost his dad about 1.5 years ago. And I understand the value of that.
Yeah.
Of you having your dad here, you being able to share all these special moments together. And you look back and just being able to reminisce together. And I'm glad that we were able to bring it to the table.
Yes.
And kind of, just hash it out with you guys and relive some of those moments with you guys. And it's really been truly my honor.
Yeah.
100%.
That's fun.
Thank you for having us. And I mean, we could talk father and son experiences for another 8 hours, I guess.
Yeah, I mean,
I will say I was very lucky.
you leaving anything off the table to bring it.
But, he took me to Cozumel, caught a blue marlin there, sailfish. Went sword fishing one night there. We didn't catch a swordfish, but caught a grouper. Venezuela, Panama, Costa Rica.
So you guys have been to all these places together?
That was, in middle school and high school.
That's fantastic.
Our family trips. We didn't go skiing.
Bahamas, Bimini.
Yeah. Yep. We'd take our little boat over there and go anchor up on the front and
Jamaica?
go wait around. Yep.
Really?
Yep. Wait around for bonefish and do everything.
Yeah, that's great.
Yep.
That's outstanding.
Good days.
Well, listen, thank you guys very much. I want to wish you both a very happy Father's Day.
Thank you.
I want to wish
too.
a happy
You
Father's
too.
Day to, thank you very much.
Yep.
I want to wish a happy Father's Day to Mike.
Yep.
Right? To your Mike over there. Right? We got Mike over here. We got Mike over there. We got Mike that called in earlier.
Mic check.
Mike check. I want to, wish a happy Father's Day to all the fathers that are in our audience listening to this show today.
Absolutely. Take your kids fishing.
Yeah, because that's what it's all about. I know we have Bouncer on the show a lot, and he preaches that all the time. It's all about the kids. It's all about the kids. It's all about the kids. And there's no deeper truth about fishing than that. That when it comes to fishing, it's family first. I always believe. You could be the toughest, meanest angler in the world. You know what I mean? But doesn't mean anything if you don't leave a legacy of importance and respect for somebody about it. So
absolutely.
Yeah. So I mean, and that's I think the point we wanted to prove today.
Okay.
Again, gentlemen, thank you again. I'd like to thank our sponsors, Papa's Pilar Rum, and thank our sponsor, Joey Accardi, and thank our sponsor, the W Sauce, for keeping the lights on here and keeping everything flowing properly. So, Mike Leech, Eric Leech, thank you very much. All right, we're going to end this like we always do. Okay, your ego is not your amigo. Always do your best, and at the end of the day, just let God do the rest. And do not ever forget that no matter where we are, no matter what we're doing, we're all connected by water.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers.